Welcome back to Speaking Queerly. We're a podcast produced by Kaleidoscope Youth Center, Ohio's largest and longest standing organization serving and supporting LGBTQIA plus youth and young adults. I'm Mallory. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Civic Engagement and Advocacy Manager here at KYC.
And I'm Daria. I use she, they pronouns, and I'm the Ohio GSA Network Manager at KYC.
I'm Lane, and I use they, them pronouns, and I'm the Community Education and Research Manager at KYC.
And I know it's been a minute since we've talked to all of you guys, and we've had a lot going on. But before we get into all of that super fun stuff, we've got a little add-on question since now we've moved from summer to fall. So what is your favorite fall activity? What are you most excited for coming up in this fall? Either of you?
I am excited to run in the fall weather. The summer runs that are super hot, I'm like just reminding myself that it will get easier sooner. And so finally those days have come.
Nice. I think I am less excited for like an activity in particular and more excited for like a slowing down of activity. In the summer, especially, I feel like I have to be taking the most advantage of every single waking moment of daylight just because I'm like, there's so much sunlight. I need to, stock up on vitamin D, I guess. And, there's lots of events that happen in the summer. And then usually around this time of year when the days start getting shorter, I start getting sadder because I'm like, daylight. And then I'm like, I can actually come home and like sit on the couch and do nothing and not feel like I have to like be outside in the sunshine all the time. And I will still be outside, but I'll also be resting, and that's good.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. I think I'm most excited to spend more time outside. I spend a lot more time outside, like on nice walks, just on a little stroll. I like to do like fall picnics and stuff,
Nice.
because it's not super hot and I'm not sweaty and gross. And I think my best outfits are in the fall. So I have to like be out on the town.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good point. I feel like there's the like fall aesthetic that everybody aspires to achieve, and when it comes down to it, the second the temperature dips below like 60 degrees, I'm like,
I'm over it.
I'm over it. I'm done being cute. Like I'm just like, for the rest of my life. The idea is great, but in actuality, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. Totally fair.
Well, before we, really look ahead to fall, and we've got lots of great episodes coming up where we're going to be talking about, back to school and all those things that happen this time of year. But before we get into that, we're going to use this episode to kind of recap what's been going on this summer because it has been a couple months since we put out an episode. And that's for a variety of reasons, right? Like we initially were going to take the month of July off because Pride happens in June and we're all kind of playing catch up in July. Folks are going on vacation, taking some time off. And we were also heading up Summer Institute, which we'll go into that in a minute. And then July concluded and something else happened in August. And that is that we're kind of moving around here at our physical space here at KYC. And those who are watching on our YouTube channel, or if you're watching this, clip on social media, you'll notice that we have a purple background now instead of turquoise.
And we're a little farther apart.
Yeah. Instead of our old setup where we were all like sitting on each other's laps behind this filing cabinet, we have a nice round table and some room to spread out. So those are all exciting things. But let's talk a little bit more about some of those things that have been going on here at KYC.
Yeah, so we started with Summer Institute, which ran for 4 weeks through July and August. Super duper exciting. Mallory and I kind of headlined that this summer, which we didn't know was going to happen. But it ended up being such a joy. Who knew that we would want to be camp counselors for 4 weeks?
I mean, like, I absolutely
She knew, yeah.
I knew that, and I feel like these 4 weeks kind of gave me the chance to fulfill my unfulfilled destiny of being a camp counselor.
Yeah, and you were great at it. You were great at it.
And Lane was able to help, and we had a lot of other staff who were able to lend a hand here and there, and it was just a very fulfilling 4 weeks. So we had a group of, I believe it was 15 youth, ranging in age from 12 to 18. So right in the middle of our KYC demographic. And we did a variety of like leadership type things. So we practiced like, public speaking. We talked a lot about queer history, and we went on a lot of fun field trips.
Yeah.
Very excited about. What were some of the things that we did? And like,
so we had Galaxy Coffee come. So that was like an awesome like queer small business that we had come out, and I learned so much just about like the youth and how many of them were like, oh, I want to be a small business owner, or like I want to be an entrepreneur or whatever. And I was like, and that was one of the earlier things that we did, and so that was really cool to learn like, wow, this like quieter youth like has so much that now they like want to say and that they're asking. And
Yeah.
so that was really cool. We went to Otherworld, of course, which was just like super jazzy.
Those of you who are not listening in from Columbus, a lot of the things we tried to do were like local to Columbus. Of course, we're not schlepping all the way to, you know, Cincinnati or Cleveland, of course, but Otherworld is like this cool, how would you describe it? It's like an interactive,
Like art exhibit.
yeah,
Kind of.
lots of black light going on. Like I think I wore my tie-dyed shirt that day just to like glow a little bit more. Right? You got to make the most of the experience.
It's very sci-fi-y.
And Galaxy is this really awesome queer and trans owned coffee truck that is here in Columbus. It's really only a year and some change old.
Yeah.
But it feels like a mainstay in our food truck scene. So
Oh yeah. And they came out for that, and then later in the summer they came out I think 3 times this summer.
Yeah.
So for Summer Institute, for Pride, for Barbequeer, all of that good jazz.
definitely check them out. What are some other things we did? We had some like leaders in like Columbus's LGBTQ scene come and, you know, get to talk to the youth and stuff. And
Yeah.
that was just cool because we often talk about queer history as being this like, you know, faraway thing on the coast. Like we talk about, you know, Stonewall and whatever happening in New York and the goings on in San Francisco, but then to talk about things and people that are right here in Columbus and have always been here. Like I think a lot of youth that kind of like, you know, something clicked for them where they're like, oh, this is here in our city too.
Yeah. And I think it was super cool, like to see them just interact with these like queer adults in person. And of course they see us every day, but queer adults that are like living different lives, doing different things and working at like, let's say a queer org. And just to see them be like, oh my gosh, like I didn't know that like this is what queer adulthood could look like, or like, oh, this is what you do is so cool. That's something that I would be interested in doing.
And
so
let's
that
be
was,
honest,
yeah.
I was also thinking these same things.
Oh yeah.
Too, right? I'm also still fangirling over here over some of these folks. We also did like a volunteer day where we went to Sunbury Urban Farm to help volunteer, you know, anything from pulling weeds to socializing chickens to painting a chicken coop. They definitely put us to work.
One of the youth picked up a snake. So yeah.
Missed.
I didn't want to see it.
And we went to the YMCA Camp Wilson as well. A lot of the youth were trying their hand at a high ropes course.
Mhm.
And, you know, that was really cool to see because I do not do heights. I think we've talked about this on the podcast before.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And a couple of them were like, okay, Mallory, we trust you. Like, we want you to go first. And I was like, look, if I go first, none of you will be like, heck no.
You're like, I'm going to be sobbing on my way up there.
She's doing, I don't, right? But you know, Daria, you went through the whole course.
I did the whole thing.
I was very impressed.
I didn't realize, and I don't know why my brain like didn't comprehend this, but like you started, and I mean, it was great, and everyone there was wonderful, but you start going up this like rickety ladder, and then you get up there and there's just like these like tiny hooks that you're like grabbing onto to continue to like climb up this pole. And I was like, okay, that's a lot of like physical exertion I'm doing. And so by the time I got to the top, I was like already tired, but gonna keep going. And it was really fun, but I just had to keep looking like out. Like I would look out at the trees and stuff. I could not look down. And it was fine and it was fun. So
and we had some youth who like just made it to the top of the ladder, or, like the pole, and like that was it. And honestly, kudos to them because a lot of them weren't even sure they were going to make it that far.
right.
I certainly did not even attempt to put on a harness, climb up that thing. And we also had a youth who went around the course, I think 3 times.
I think so. Yeah.
So,
just kept going.
Yeah. So, I mean, all in all, Summer Institute was a blast for both the youth and the adults, I'd say.
Yeah.
You know? And I think it was cool, especially to like connect with so many community organizations and businesses and like, you know, get a feel for what are like, you know, some supportive places for queer folks here in Columbus.
Yeah, definitely.
It was cool. And then Summer Institute led right into Barbequeer.
Ah, Barbequeer. So Barbequeer is our back to school event. We have it every year. And it's just kind of a place for these like local community orgs to come out and table, like share what they have to offer young people during the school year. We had some really awesome orgs come out. We had Rendezvous the Salon come out, and they ended up doing a raffle for like a free cut and color, which I had no idea they were going to do. That was so wonderful of them. And then of course we had Galaxy Coffee come out for our drinks. We had Hot Chicken Takeover catered for the event. And then we had a little performance done by our wonderful Summer Institute youth. That was something that they've been working on, like leadership wise, to put that together. And they killed it. They absolutely like blew me away. Honestly, I'm not going to lie. And I love all of I love all of the youth at Summer Institute. But there were some days when we were like, okay, go work with your groups. And I was like, are they gonna have anything?
This was like it was a variety show, and we basically said like it was like a talent show, you know what I mean? And like some folks chose not to participate, others wanted to participate more in like a behind the scenes type like set building thing, and that was wild. Like next thing you know, I'm like all these people are asking to bring in cardboard boxes. I'm like, what's going on? They built this whole puppet like
set, yeah.
And the costumes that they were able to come up with, and like, you know, the makeup they were doing, it, and the improv
that was so funny.
Cackling. Like it is clear that these folks have a theater background.
Oh yeah.
And they just blew us away. Daria and I just kind of like stood back, and we were like experiencing this for the first time alongside everyone else. Like obviously we had to screen stuff, like it needed to be KYC appropriate, but when we were actually watching it with everyone in costume and makeup, or, you know, puppets, all that, it was like, wow.
I was blown away.
And it's cool because, like, you know, this is something that we're doing to like work on public speaking and, you know, performance, and like being able to, you know, collaborate with others, put something together. But like we could have done something fairly boring, right? You know, and like could have been like research project, present your research. But like no, they got to like create this thing.
Yeah.
Had everyone just totally entertained.
Yeah, absolutely blew me away. It was so fun. But that honestly, they sold Barbequeer. I think they made it a perfect event. But
absolutely,
yeah.
And we had our own little numbers, you know, Barbie thing. Lisanne, if you remember Lisanne from many episodes back, I'm pretty sure that episode is still like the most listened to one. So you probably have heard that.
Yeah.
If you were listening to this podcast. But Lisanne choreographed this whole thing. I was kind of like, oh, maybe we should like do our own number. And Lisanne's like, I'm on it. And the next day I had this whole routine down. So
yeah.
I don't think I really knew the number, but Lisanne
led it. Yeah. So we were there.
Very Barbie inspired, which hasn't everything been.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, 8 weeks or whatever.
And then after Barbequeer, we weren't done yet. And we had a wonderful little move.
Yeah. So after Barbequeer, Kaleidoscope was closed for the first 3 weeks of August.
It was like the last 3 weeks.
The last 3 weeks of August. But there's a carriage house out back at the building that we rent in downtown Columbus. We're right across from the Topiary Park, but this building had been in basically disrepair for as long as Kaleidoscope has been here. But through wonderful donations from community partners and all of that, we were able to get the funding to renovate this building, and now it looks brand new. It's so beautiful in there. And our community-based wellness and behavioral health teams are now going to be moving in there, and they're located in there. And then we have drop-in and our other departments still in the main building. But we just want to give a big thanks to all the volunteers that came out to help make that a reality, because we absolutely could not have done it by ourselves.
No way.
Yeah, that whole moving process was, I love things like that where it's like, okay, we have this common goal we're all working toward, you know, much like the variety show that we were just saying. It's like, okay, everyone just like divided and conquered and did the thing. But you'd come in every day and people would have this like assembly line of stuff being moved out of the basement, or like you'd blink and it's like, oh my gosh, how did this turn into the way that it is? Like, so it's been cool. We've been able to spread out in our existing space and like create some more room for youth during drop-in programming to like, you know, have a quieter space to sit, or, you know, have more room to spread out and play games or whatever, you know what I mean? And then the wellness center is just
beautiful.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It makes me want to go get a social work degree. So I
just so you're like, I'm moving to that building.
Yeah, exactly. And our resource room has just like, I would say it's like at least doubled in size. That we're able to put more things like toiletries and clothes and, you know, things like sleeping bags and tents in there.
I went in there the other day and there was like a full prom dress. Yeah. I was like, okay.
It's amazing. And that's just another plug that like if you're looking for a way to give back to KYC, a really easy thing you can do is go to our website and find our Amazon wish list. There's always things we're looking for, whether that's snacks to, have on hand so you can have something to eat after school, shampoos, conditioners, like underwear, socks. These are all things that if you just check out our wish list, those are really easy ways that you can give back just through Amazon. I mean, you don't even have to lift a finger. Not that we're out here trying to support Jeff Bezos. If we can use that resource to support a queer org, I'm here for it.
And then there is one last thing that we did this summer that I'm going to plug, which is we kind of beefed up our online education options. So Daria and I are in the education and outreach department with Amanda, who has not yet been on the pod, but maybe one
We'll probably be on the next.
But we do live trainings all the time, and we're finally able to take the time to create animated videos that kind of are 5 to 10 minute shorts on LGBTQ topics. So they're free. They're on our website if you want to learn more, kind of get a better feel for what the heck do all the letters mean.
And Lane has been doing an amazing job at the like editing, making it like super engaging, because you can tend to, I don't know. I watch a webinar and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. But you can learn and like see Lane's Bitmoji just take you through this amazing Canva production.
It's
so
cool.
I highly recommend just taking a look. It's very entertaining.
And they've been working so hard on this too. Like Lane's not one to like, celebrate all of the things that they do. They're always very good at like celebrating what everyone else is doing, but like kudos to them. Like definitely check it out because it's very cool. It's a good way to like expand and expand our reach more broadly too.
Yeah, definitely. Especially for those of y'all that are like ways away, or perhaps, I don't know, maybe we have a single out of state listener. Who knows?
Honestly, I checked the demographics and like I think and I don't know how many of these are bots, right? Like I wish that I could see like more intimately, like,
What's your IP address?
Exactly.
What playlist do you have on your page?
Yeah. Maybe not that creepy, but I definitely think we have some listeners who are in California, I want to say.
Well, that's weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it the GSA network? No, I'm kidding. It's probably not. Right. I should tell them that. I don't know if I've told them we had a podcast. Anyways.
Well, I have been tabling a couple times. I've had some folks come up to me and be like, actually, one of my favorite moments was this summer I was tabling and somebody heard my voice and they were like, oh, hang on, this is really weird, but do you host the podcast? I was like, I do. Like, I recognize your voice. It's like, wow.
I hope they're listening right now to this.
There's somebody at the P flag table, so another community partner, which we love to.
That's so awesome. Oh my gosh, I love that.
Well, I have one more question because we're all just, hanging out here. What is something like we talked about all these updates here at KYC? What's something fun and exciting that may have happened to you over the summer, or maybe like, any cool thing you got to do?
I feel like I did a lot of cool things this summer. GSA Network, which is where I'm like my job is connected through. So like the national GSA Network sent me to DC for National Gathering, which was so fun. It was so fun. It was like 4 days. And I got to like have my little like main character moment of like, I'm getting on my flight for work. I'm traveling for work. I'm like a big business person. But I went and I got to meet like amazing individuals that are doing just great work for their state and for the young people that come to their centers. And it was so interesting. I learned a lot about like the similarities between like what is happening legislatively, like in Arkansas and in Ohio. And like, I'm so out of touch, with like what's happening directly in other states, so like to hear kind of what they were struggling with and how they're combating that. And then I learned like things in New Mexico are on the up and up, and like, that's awesome. And, just being able to engage and collaborate with people doing the same work, like-minded individuals on like a national scale was so cool. And there was a really good Venezuelan restaurant right next to the hotel.
There you go.
It was good.
And you were on a panel while you were there?
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About that.
It was a state of the movement, state of the moment panel. It was kind of just about like what was happening. It was me from Ohio, and then one individual from Colorado, and then someone from North Carolina and someone from South Carolina. And it was kind of just talking about like what issues we're seeing, how it's different, like state to state. What are we seeing like in our GSAs versus in our centers? And like kind of how we can support different orgs. So like I talked a lot about like issue 1 and what that looked like this summer, and kind of, you know, like where we're at now that we like, you know, cut that, which is amazing. So that was another exciting thing that happened this summer. But yeah, it was just really cool to like hear what the other panelists had going on, and then hear back with like questions from the rest of the partners from across the country. And then, yeah, that's when I learned so much about like what's happening in New Mexico and all of that jazz. And then similar issues, like when for Ohio, we have a big hub of GSAs in Columbus, and then we have some like, you know, towards like Cincinnati, some towards Cleveland. But when you get to the more rural areas, not so much. And so I talked with someone from Vermont, who is also like, we have a lot of rural schools, and it's just really hard to get youth engaged, whether it's to our center or with their GSA, and like how we can engage with them. So then we talked a lot about like how beneficial Discord can be and all of that. So it was just really cool to be able to collaborate on like that big of a scale. And it is honestly, because of the state of the world, like just seeing so many people doing such great work, I was like, oh, we're good. Like they got, you know what, we'll get Ohio, they got the rest of the country. Like we will keep this going, you know?
That's awesome. That's very cool.
Well, work-wise, I did a lot of animation, so now I know how to do that. Daria is Snow White and found a cat in the reeds. Now I have a cat.
I was wondering where you're going with the Snow White.
Yeah,
Me too, but
referred to as trash cat. Well, Daria just finds like random animals all the time.
I do.
Weird.
Thank you for taking her though. She loves you so much.
Yeah, it's fine. I also started grad school, so now I'm a student at OSU again. Or
That's
well, for the first time, but student again.
Yeah. What are you studying?
I'm studying translational data analytics. So I take, yeah.
That was me. I'm glad someone out there wants to do that.
So I make graphs.
That seems so fitting for
That's
you,
it.
Nate.
Yeah, no, I'll see the stuff that they're working on, and my brain short circuits a little bit, but like you seem to be totally driving with it. Like it seems like you totally understand what's going on. So at least you have me fooled.
Wow. Yeah. That's, yes.
I will say, I do get a lot of texts from Lane being like, I love coding. Coding is so cool. So
Yes, I do love coding. I will say I started my class yesterday. The first 5 minutes, I was so confused, and that just carried for the rest of the hour. So there are those moments as well.
Yeah.
yeah.
But if you didn't have those moments, then it would be like, why am I paying all this money to go to grad school? You know what I mean?
That's a good point. And there is no hit of immediate gratification quite like getting a line of code to run.
Oh, wow.
After you spent like 45 minutes trying to get just the simplest task done. So
And then you do it and you're like, well, I'm done for the day.
yeah,
That's very cool. I wish that my brain worked in that way. I'm sure that I like could get it to work that way, but I've heard that it's kind of a creative thing too.
oh yeah, for sure. I definitely think that as like the analytical side of my brain is working on coding, it frees up more of my creative side of my brain to want to do things like write or make art or just be a more pleasant person.
That's very cool.
Coding makes you a more pleasant person.
That needs to be on a t-shirt. That's awesome. And I guess my updates, like work-wise, has been pretty chill at the legislature so far. So luckily haven't had to go there to fight any bad bills. But that could start back up any day now. The legislature is back and, you know, same as ever. And personally, I have done cool athletic events. I got to go to Milwaukee to compete in the USA Triathlon age group national championships, and that was really fun. It was something that was a challenge for me. I didn't think that it was something that I'd actually like want to follow through with. Honestly, like a month before, I was like, I'm just gonna skip. I'm not gonna go. And I ended up going, and it was a blast.
And you did really well there in all your events.
Yeah, I did take some time off time off my best times, my previous PRs. So that was fun. It definitely made me feel like, okay, it was worthwhile for me to go all the way up to Milwaukee and do this thing. And it was just cool being surrounded by so many other people who are I mean, listeners of this podcast will know that I have talked about swimming and biking and running ad nauseum, and y'all are probably like, okay, we're not here to talk about that, right? But going to this event and thousands of people are there to all talk about those same things and to participate in those same activities. So that was just cool to be surrounded by, like-minded folks. And then actually just this past weekend, I was in Chicago doing Big Shoulders, which I think we talked about on this podcast, like back when I signed up for it.
Yeah.
It's a 5K open water swim in Lake Michigan. And that was so fun. I thought for sure that I was going to like drown in swimming, get hypothermia or something, but neither of those things happened. In actuality, it just was like one of those things that I didn't want to end. I could have kept swimming forever. So that was a really cool thing.
That is not a common experience, Mel. So if you're ever like, does anybody ever? And no.
Yeah.
But that's amazing that
Yeah.
you do that. I'm
very cool.
Happy for you.
I'm happy to like see it. You know what I mean? I'm like, wow, she did that
Yeah.
Over there.
over
Don't
there.
wait for me.
And actually the next day, like Chicago is just one of my favorite cities. Like I love Columbus. I would never leave Ohio probably, but Chicago is one of the places that I would consider going to just because it's got the Midwest feel because it is in the Midwest. But Lake Michigan, and they have the Lakefront Trail. It's just like a bike/running path that runs right along Lake Michigan. And it's just so gorgeous. And like there's always people out like rollerblading and riding their bikes and walking and playing sand volleyball, and people are swimming in the lake. And I'm just like, oh, all of the people, all of the community, all of the activities, everyone's outdoors. Like it's,
Extrovert.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
That's like
And- And the next day I saw that people were swimming in Lake Michigan. And so the person who I went to this with, like the two of us were like, it would be a shame if we didn't get in the water again, right? And so before we left, we got in another quick swim, and I just further confirmation that Columbus needs to, grow a Great Lake or something. The Scioto is not as swimming friendly.
Yeah.
Be
No.
done, but should it be done?
No.
the third arm.
And that would be best case scenario.
That's true. Yeah.
Faster.
That's true. Be hard to find t-shirts. Anyway, well, that's the goings on in our lives and here at KYC. We hope to be back on a regular recording schedule moving forward every other week or so. And we've got lots of great episodes and folks lined up to be on this podcast.
Yeah, we'll probably end up here soon. Because if I haven't talked about GSA Network enough, I'll keep doing it because I want every GSA to register. But I'll probably have Lane and our boss Amanda on to talk like back to school, talk about trainings, talk about all things queer youth in school. So that's super exciting for y'all.
And I'm sure folks probably have lots of questions about like what's school policy, what's allowed, what are teachers up against these days.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So as always, if you have questions, submit them to Mallory at kycohio.org.
Yeah.
Yes, please do, and share this with a friend so that they can, get in on the info too. If you know of somebody who might be, curious about joining their school's GSA or otherwise getting involved, please share this episode so that other folks can find this resource and get involved as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if any of you are so inclined to continue to support us in our future endeavors.
After hearing this podcast,
Yeah, after this one.
this is what inspired you to give.
You can do so at our website, www.kycohio.org/donate for a one-time donation, or like Mallory said, another wonderful and amazing way to support us would be through our Amazon wish list for our young people in our resource center.
And you can also be part of our Unity Circle and set up a recurring donation. Comes right out of your bank account. You don't have to think about it. It just does.
There's
So
so many things you can
there's so
do.
many ways. And
The money is our money.
well, your money is the youth's money. It's going directly into programs that are, helping to educate members of the community, helping to give young folks a safer space to come after school.
Bus passes.
Jen is
Housing.
fired me.
It's I don't know if Jen has that authority.
Is she into that?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine. Anyway, so if you have any questions, like Lane said, send me an email and check us out on social media at KYC Ohio. And yeah, stay tuned for our next episode. And thank you so much for being patient with us as we put together this one.
Bye.
Bye.